Well, I had a mini meltdown last night. I picked up a guitar for maybe 10, 15 minutes and then experienced a lot of pain right before I went to bed. Threw my massage gun, cried a little bit, and then I gathered my thoughts and I let myself feel the emotion, moved through it, and then realized there's only one thing holding me back from getting relief from this pain. But we'll get to that in a second. My name is Hannah. I want to share a little bit about my backstory of my back. May 15th of 2021, I was playing a gig. I play guitar and I sing. If you've seen my music channel, then you know that. It was about a 2-hour gig, and then I felt this pain about halfway through, kind of in between my shoulder blade and my spine. I thought, that's weird. I've been playing for like a decade, and I've never had that kind of pain before. I had your usual, guitarists, musicians, going to the chiropractor once a week helped, but that was just kind of normal pain. This was something different. It took about a week of normal activities like working and exercise, playing guitar, lifting things for me to feel like a completely different person in the worst way. I tried everything: chiropractic adjustments, acupuncture, red light therapy, physical therapy, Graston, trigger point injections, literally you name it. I tried everything and nothing was helping. So you can imagine I was a little, didn't know where to go from there. So that was in May of 2021. Then August of 2021 was my first piece of the puzzle. I was diagnosed with a military neck, where your neck lacks the proper curvature that it needs to support the weight of your head. All humans need a C curve, and a lot of ours are not as they should be. Like I said, that was the first piece of the puzzle, and it's very important. So remember the lack of the curve. And then had my first MRI in February of 2022 that revealed that I have a syrinx, which is a fluid-filled cyst in my spinal cord, kind of around this region, kind of where the pain is, or in line with where the pain is. I had that answer, but I was still lacking a lot of pieces of this puzzle. My second MRI was in March of 2023, and that's when I got the diagnosis of a Chiari malformation, which, if you don't know what that is, it's basically the bottom part of your brain, the cerebellum, is herniated, and there's a lot of brain pressure going on, and so it's trying to find somewhere to go, and it starts slipping through your foramen magnum, which is the opening of your skull that leads to your spinal cord. And so the bottom part of my brain is falling into my spinal cord, which is not supposed to be doing that. So after that diagnosis, I pretty much gave up. The neurosurgeon that I saw did not recommend surgery for me, which I'm glad he didn't. The only surgery for Chiari malformation right now is a decompression surgery, where they basically take off a piece of your skull. It's a very grueling surgery and it's hard to recover from, and he didn't recommend it because the reason they do this surgery is to help with headaches. Thankfully, I do not have headaches. That's not one of my many symptoms. But it was before that time that I'd found out about a facility in Florida called Caring Medical, but I did not see them yet and was planning a trip, but just didn't have the money for it. And so had emailed them and done consultations and things. But after that last MRI and that diagnosis of Chiari malformation, I was just really distraught and discouraged. And so I just kind of forgot about it, or tried to forget about it for a while. After the diagnosis, I got laid off from my job, which came out of nowhere. Then moved to Washington State kind of on a whim after losing my job. Moved there like 2 weeks later. Long story there, but was there for about a year. I don't need to go through all the details, but we ended up living a very different lifestyle. Me and my now fiance Michael went back to Texas, got into work camping, live in a travel trailer now. Utah, Texas, now we're in Colorado. Through all of this, I have been learning a lot and actually got to go to Caring Medical for my first appointment, which was such an eye opener. I learned so many things. All that's left now is the money to go there to get the treatment. I'm hoping that there are some people out there that connect with this and want to give, and I will give more details on how to do that. I did want to kind of go over what I learned from my visit because I think it could really help a lot of people. that may be having strange symptoms. Maybe you're interested in going to Caring Medical. This is not an advertisement for them by any means, but I hope that you get something out of this and you learn something. So it's going to be some technical medical language, but I'm going to try to just say it as I understand it. And I know I'm probably going to miss some things, but first off, I was diagnosed with cervical instability. And what does that mean? So, cervical meaning your neck, and instability meaning there's some issues there, and your neck's not very strong and it's not moving as one piece. My vertebrae are moving kind of independently from each other, and they shouldn't be. Dr. Hauser said in our video together that my body is moving in ways that God never intended it to. Loss of curve and cervical instability are the main things. So how I said that lack of curvature that I was first diagnosed with is the key here. We all live in a society now where we're looking down at our phones all the time, sitting at a computer, having terrible posture, neck forward. It's terrible for our health, and there are genetic factors as well that could be for some people, definitely in my case, but it's lifestyle and posture and habits too. So this probably applies to most of us here. If you're having any issues, unexplained pain or whatever, like go first get an x-ray. If you need, get an MRI, get with a good trusted doctor who knows what they're talking about, get some answers on your spine and the structure of it to start with. So it's pretty crazy because this cervical instability, Dr. Hauser at Caring Medical, who's the lead doctor there, said, I basically have an undiagnosed broken neck. I heard that and I was like, ooh, that sounds not very good. One way that they diagnose a broken neck is if you, say, get in a car accident and you break bones, but in my case, it's vertebrae that are moving in ways they shouldn't. Ligaments are not strong, not keeping it together, so my neck is broken in ways, and we're going to fix that with something called prolotherapy, and I will get to that. The other things I have going on are styloids. I'd never heard of these. Basically, this is a fang-like calcification coming off of my skull. I'm curious to see how many normal people have these going on as well. So it's basically your body's attempt to stabilize itself. If there's instability in the neck, then your body is not against you, it is for you. So it's going to do some weird things, but it's going to do everything it can to try to help itself. And sometimes you get symptoms with that. It's important to remember your body's not against you, it's for you. And I have to tell myself that all the time because it's been a really hard journey when you have all these issues and pain and weakness and strange symptoms to be like, my body's attacking itself. No, actually, it's for you. It is for you. So just remember that. This styloid is the atlantohyoid ligament that's been calcified. This can happen due to many factors, but the most common is prolonged stress on this ligament, such as poor curve and posture. An elongated styloid can compress the carotid sheath, especially closing off the jugular vein, leading to intracranial hypertension as well as various cranial nerves. I do have intracranial hypertension, and it is affecting my jugular vein, which is kind of a big deal. So my left styloid is approximately 21.72 millimeters, and the right side is approximately 24.23. The atlantostyloid interval is the space between the styloid and the C1, so that first vertebrae in your spine. This measurement is very vital because important structures such as your jugular vein, your carotid artery, and your vagus nerve lie within this space. Atlantostyloid interval space ideally should be at least 8 to 9 millimeters or greater. Mine on the left side is 5.03. The right is 8.93. So that needs to be better for sure. These can only be surgically removed, and it can be a progressive thing, so it can get worse. I'm definitely trying to stay on top of that by sleeping positions and having good posture as much as I can, so they don't get worse, hopefully. Other things that we found in the testing I didn't know were going to be so eye-opening and so interconnected. Your body is one ecosystem with all of these organs and things interacting with each other. I learned a lot. I learned that my pupils were dilated. Dilated pupils can inhibit the fluid drainage of the eye and increase eye pressure. I do have eye pressure. There's tons of symptoms that can come from this. I get light sensitivity and sometimes blurry vision. Like if I'm driving, I've noticed it pretty much then. I'll have that light sensitivity and just kind of hard to focus. Like my eyes just can't, I have to keep blinking and they can't focus. So that gave me some answers about that. When the eye pressure is high, the brain pressure is high. The internal jugular vein, your IJV, are the main structures where fluid leaves the brain, especially when lying in the supine, so straight on your back, or sleeping position. When the IJVs are compressed, pressure inside the brain rises. My IJVs are compressed on both sides. I found out that I am left side dominant because you have jugular veins on both sides. I'm left side dominant. Most people have a dominant side, which was interesting to find out. They gave me an exercise to be doing like every hour for 5 minutes, just simply laying on my left side with not my chin tucked in, but sort of elevated and tucked back, laying on my side so I can drain my brain. Super helpful to know because when you have issues with your jugular vein, this can give you symptoms like brain fog, tinnitus, vertigo, and I do have those things. Brain fog pretty regularly, tinnitus occasionally, and vertigo. We did testing in different neck positions and things, and my right side like stopped when I had my head turned. And when I sleep on my stomach, which is terrible, and I'm really trying to break the habit, if you sleep on your stomach, try to break that habit right now, okay? Because I've done it my whole life, and this is probably a large portion of why I have these problems. When I sleep on my stomach and my head to the right, that is when I wake up with vertigo, and it all makes sense. Left side, not so much. Still not good. Still shouldn't do it. I learned that I'm very sensitive. My internal jugular veins are very sensitive to my neck position. So looking down was even worse. If I look down, it literally gives me a 0 of the flow. So definitely trying to have better posture, head posture. It's very important. Middle cerebral arteries. So the velocity of these for me are elevated on the left side. When this is elevated, it can cause insomnia, racing thoughts, anxiety, etc. I get more symptoms like dizziness sometimes, cognitive issues, head pressure. This dilation of the arteries occurs because the brain is nervous due to the pressure in the head being elevated. When the brain pressure increases, so does the pulsatile index, and subsequently the mean peak velocities of the middle cerebral arteries. Pulsatility index is related to this, so a higher pulsatility index generally indicates increased resistance in the vessel, while a lower suggests reduced resistance or even the presence of a stenosis or a narrowing in the vessel. My pulsatility index is elevated on both sides, and again, I have intracranial hypertension, dizziness, cognitive issues, things like that. I have this is a very important part. If you ignore most of the other things, I think you'd learn a lot from this because I sure did. The vagus nerve is very important. I have significant vagus nerve degeneration on both sides. Let me tell you first what a healthy vagus nerve should be. 2 to 3 millimeters. My left side is 1.5. My right side is 0.7 millimeters. And that may not seem like a lot, but it's a lot because these things are already tiny. And then I have like barely any on my right side. This nerve regulates many things such as fight or flight response, the heart, the digestive system, breathing, etc. The left vagus nerve innervates the heart, and the right innervates the GI system. This is very interesting. The right vagus nerve being compressed can cause GI symptoms. The left vagus nerve can cause sympathetic nervous system issues such as anxiety or heart palpitations. The vagus nerve is the single most important nerve inside the human body outside of the spinal cord. That's a big deal. It's one of the 12 pairs of cranial nerves. These nerves emerge directly from the brain and brainstem as opposed to spinal nerves that emerge from the sides of the spinal cord. Each cranial nerve is paired and is present on both sides. The cranial nerves provide motor and sensory information mainly to the structures of the head and neck. Think sensations like smell, taste, hearing, vision, for example. The vagus nerve is the longest cranial nerve. There are many ways to regenerate the vagus nerve, thank God. I do have a list that I'm going to share at the end because it's very helpful and very simple. The reason this is such a big deal to me is I have tons of digestive issues and I've had them since like high school, 11 years at least. The vagus nerve being directly associated with your digestive system, this would explain the bloating, constipation, food allergies, and sensitivities. I have gained more and more food sensitivities over the years. It's insane. I've kind of self-diagnosed with SIBO, never been tested, but have symptoms that are similar to SIBO, which is small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. I can make a different video about that later. Trying all the diet changes, I eat really clean and really well, and I still can't figure out these digestive issues. Well, this could be my answer. The neck, imagine that. So our bodies are crazy, everything's intertwined. I also have swollen optic nerves, I learned. When optic nerve sheath diameter is elevated, it typically means the brain pressure is over 20 millimeters of mercury. When excessive cerebrospinal fluid accumulates around the optic nerve, the eye, vision is likely to be affected. That one kind of scares me. I gotta get that under control because I do not want my vision to be damaged. Dr. Hauser also suspects that I have hypermobility, which could be a very key component to all of my issues. I will be tested for this the next time I see them to confirm, but he's pretty sure I have hypermobility, which can be genetic. Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, EDS. This just means being loose jointed and having ligament instability. I always thought it was a good thing to be flexible, right? I did dance and cheer for a while and thought flexibility was an advantage, and it can be, but if you have hypermobility, it can cause a lot of issues that I was totally unaware of. Even hypermobility being like, if you're kind of person like me that feels more comfortable sitting like crisscross or like in weird positions, or like you feel more comfortable that way than sitting just like straight like a normal person with your feet flat on the ground. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, and you probably didn't know that it was a problem because I sure didn't. As I learn more about this, I will give more information. On top of the hypermobility, I talked about the Chiari malformation and the syrinx being a really big deal. My Chiari is 16 millimeters, which is rated as a 1.5. We're going to handle that because that is directly related to the cervical instability, so it can be fixed. I thought I was hopeless and would just have to live with this forever, but it's really just a symptom of the cervical instability, so it kind of made me feel a little better in an odd way when I found that out, because I thought the Chiari was like the main thing. It's really just a side effect. After all of the symptoms and things and diagnoses that we talked about in my appointment, Dr. Hauser said, we should dip you in a prolotherapy solution. I laughed, but I'm like, huh, so I'm one of your more complicated patients. That's okay. That's fine. We're going to get there. I just wanted to share all of that. I know it was a lot. A lot of people probably don't know what problems I'm having or the extent of what they are. My main symptoms are really weakness and pain. Pain specifically in that area that I pointed out that started from that gig that I played. It has not gone away for 5 years. I have found ways to work around it, not agitate it, and that basically means not playing guitar, which sucks, not lifting heavy things, like not lifting hardly anything. I've had to completely change my life because of these symptoms. I mean, I brush my teeth like this to support that arm because if I don't, it hurts. I mean, it affects everything. And then the weakness, I just don't even have strength anymore. Oh, that was another thing that's not in here. I was diagnosed also with thoracic outlet syndrome. I'm learning more about that. But your thoracic outlet runs between your collarbone and your first rib. It's pinched. That could explain the weakness in my arms. So that was cool to learn about too. I mean, not cool to learn that I had another diagnosis, but helpful, validating so that I don't feel crazy, you know. And these are things that people can't see. Like, I look normal and I look healthy and I am healthy in all the ways that I can control, of course, but this is what's underneath the surface at all times. Like, I feel it. I feel the pain right now. You just learn how to work with it. I was very depressed at the beginning of all this. I had ideation of unaliving myself, was very depressed, was very desperate, was at the end of myself. That was right before I met Michael, actually. He helped me even just be distracted. You know, sometimes that's what you need with chronic pain and issues, is just a distraction or fun or laughter, and that was really helpful for a time. And then having moments of like, okay, I really gotta figure this out, do some research when you have that motivation to do some research, do it. And then give yourself a break, you know. I hope this encourages people that maybe you're dealing with similar things or just chronic pain in general. It can be really discouraging, but our bodies are for us, not against us. I've learned a lot through this process. Healing your trauma is a really key aspect of it all, which I have done tons and tons of that. EMDR is a wonderful resource. We're not there all the way. I think it's always a journey, and learning how to connect to your body and learning how to tell your body that it's safe now and you don't have to be hyper vigilant and looking for the danger, because our body does remember what we've been through and holds that tension that we feel and holds those emotions. It really is real. You've probably heard of the body keeps the score, the book. That idea is scientifically proven. So I think that's a part of it, you know. That's why I love this facility that I'm going to, Caring Medical, because they understand that aspect too. Like for the vagus nerve repair, they give me a list of things to do that I'm like, these are all very simple, lovely things that we should all be doing as humans. The vagus nerve is very important, and I think we don't know nearly enough about it. So I'm learning, and I'll share with you what I'm learning, and we can learn together. So here are some simple ways. I won't list all of them, but here are some simple ways that you and I can repair our vagus nerve. So you can do alternate nostril breathing, applying a cold compress to your face, being in nature, getting sunlight on your skin, singing, humming, complimenting others, eating a whole foods diet, deep breathing, the slower the better, exercise, gratitude, laughing, massages, meditation, listening to music, prayer, reflexology. Oh, these are like normal human things that we should be doing every day. There is hope of regeneration of the vagus nerve and of the body as a whole. I hope that this encourages some people. I hope that it brings some more clarity to what I'm raising money for and what kind of treatment I am getting. I will talk more about prolotherapy and how it's going to help me with all of these symptoms and all these issues in another video. But thanks so much for taking the time to watch this, and I will see you guys soon. Okay.